table, and we also obviously will be using the Siddur. So please help yourselves to the song sheet so you can participate in the service. And we begin this evening with Shalom Aleichem on page number 5, ladies. Page number 5. Turning now to page number 11, Lachuna Ranana. Page 11, Lachuna Ranana. Lachuna Ranana Ladonai Nari Aletzur Yishenu Nikad Mafana Bitoda Bizmiro Nari Alo Nikad Mafana Bitoda Bizmiro Nari Alo Kiel Gadol Adonai Umelech Gadol Al Kol Elohim Asher Biyado Mekerei Aretz V'toaf Otarim Lo Asher Biyado Mekerei Aretz V'toaf Otarim Lo. On the English side. Let us go and sing to Adonai. Let us trumpet praise to our protector. Filled with thanks, let us greet God, raising our voice in song. Great is Adonai, a greater sovereign than all other deities. God's hands form the earth's deep. Mountain crests, too, are God's work. The sea is God's, for God made it. Dry land was fashioned by God's hands. Come then, let us bow and kneel. Let us bend our knees in the presence of Adonai, who formed us. Continuing. For Adonai is our God, and we are God's flock, sheep in God's caring hands. If only you would listen today to God's voice and not become hard-hearted like the people at Merivah, like that time at Massah in the desert, when your ancestors tried me and tested me, though they had seen what I had wrought. For 40 years I was troubled by that generation, and I said, these are a people whose hearts have gone astray. They do not know my way. So in anger I swore they would not enter my rest. Would you say that the first half of L'chon Ranana on 11 is congruent with the second half on page 12? Are the tones congruent? No. Page 11 seems what? What's the tone on page 11? Praising God. And the first verb is, come on, let's go. We're going to walk, we're going to sing together, trumpet, joy. What's the tone of page 12? Kind of disappointing. hard-hearted, wandering the wilderness, 40 years wandering. If only you would listen today, frustration. I wonder if the psalm was trying to say something to us on those occasions when we're frustrated, or scared, or disappointed. Sometimes we may not feel like singing. Sometimes we might not feel like being in a group or walking with someone else. We might want to be just by ourselves and give in to the experience that we have, which can make sense.
The second half is God talking to. It's not the people talking to God. It's God saying, I was troubled by that generation. This is what I did.
So let's go back to the first half, which means that, are we being challenged? Are we being encouraged? Are we being motivated to try to get past those occasions when we mess up? This is the opening psalm for the Friday evening service. We've only been reciting this psalm in this context for 500 years. 500 years ago, we created a new service, which is a collection of some psalms from the Bible. And that became Kabbalat Shabbat. And then the ending of that is the L'Chadodi. And L'Chadodi echoes this L'Chunrana because both are action verbs. Both say, come on, let's do something together. L'Chunrana means, come on, let's go sing and walk together. L'Chadodi is, let's all greet the Shabbat bride together. But that unit of these psalms and L'Chadodi, as a unit, comes along for a variety of reasons. It's fairly new, although the vocabulary is 3,000 years old. So I look at this psalm every Friday night, and I continue to ask myself, how do we understand section 1 and section 2? And what remains is that we don't study as individuals. We always study as members of a group. We always ask questions within the group. We always listen to each other's opinions, and we gain insight in the group. That's how we pray, by singing and by studying. On page 17. Page 17. And we do have handouts tonight. Page 17. Sing to Adonai a new song, for Adonai has wrought wonders. God's right hand and holy arm have brought deliverance. Adonai declared deliverance. As nations looked on, God's righteousness was revealed. God dealt faithfully and kindly with the house of Israel. The very ends of the earth saw our God's saving power. Call out to Adonai, all the earth. Break out in joyful singing. Sing to Adonai to the music of the lyre. Lyre and voices making music together with horns and shofar cries. Trumpet the presence of the sovereign Adonai. Let the sea and all that is in it roar. The earth and all who inhabit it thunder. Let rivers clap hands while mountains sing in harmony. Greeting Adonai who comes to judge the earth, judging the world with justice and the nations with truth. On page 21. Mizmor leDavid, Habul Adonai b'nei Elim, Habul Adonai kavod boz, Habul Adonai kavod shemon, Hishtachavu Adonai b'hadrat kodesh, Kol Adonai alamayim, El hakavod hirim, Adonai almayim Rabim, Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai be'adar, Kol Adonai Vaishaver arazim, Vaishaber Adonai et arzel vanon, Vayerkidem kamo egel, Lebanon v'Sion kamo ven re'emim, Kol Adonai chodse v'lavot eish, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, Yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yechol el ayolot, Vayechesof yarot, Vechalo kulo amer kavod, Adonai lamabul yashav, Vayeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai oz li'amo yitein, Adonai yavarech et amo v'shalom. And on page 23 in L'Charodi, the first three stanzas on page 23, and then on page 25, the three stanzas of L'Charodi. Again, it's almost parallel in L'Chunarana, which means, come on, we've got to do this together. Even if sometimes each one of us may not feel like singing, we belong in a group. Jewish life is always part of a community. L'Charodi, pages 23 and 25. Ladies? 23 and 25.
L'Charodi l'krat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'Charodi l'krat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Yishmiyanu el hamilad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shemo tiferet v'titima. L'Charodi l'krat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'Charodi l'krat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'krat Shabbat le'luvenelcha, Ki l'kor ha'bracha, Merosh mikedem nesucha, Sof ma'aseh b'machshavatcha. L'Charodi l'krat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'Charodi l'krat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Mikdash melech ir melucha, Kumisi mitoch ha'pecha, Rav l'shevet b'yemei kavacha, V'yachmol alayechem L'Charodi l'krat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'Charodi l'krat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. V'hayu l'mshisa v'shosayich, V'rachaku kol b'valayich, Yasis alayich Elohayich, Kimsos chatan al kala. L'Charodi l'krat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'Charodi l'krat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Yamin u'smol tifrotzi, V'et Adonai ta'aritzi, Al yarish ben partzi, V'nishmecha v'nagila. L'Charodi l'krat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'Charodi l'krat kala, Pnei Shabbat kavela. Boi v'shalom ateret ala. Gam v'simcha u'v'tzahara. Tov emunei am sila. Boi kala. Lechadoni lekrat kala. Penei Shabbat nekavela. Lechadoni lekrat kala. Penei Shabbat nekavela.
We are seated. In a moment, we turn to page 27 for the Psalm for Shabbat, but first there's a thought on my mind. How do we begin again? How do we begin again after something that's painful or challenging or just tough? How do we begin again? And that's why I have a song within the packet of the song sheets. It's called So We Begin Again. Do you have a song sheet? Look at the packet. So We Begin Again. You can read the background in just a moment. So the introduction is written by Rabbi Paskin, who wrote this song. And he takes hold of a well-known phrase. It's from Breshit, Genesis, when God began to create the world. Breshit bara Elohim. Vayar Elohim ki tov. And God saw that out of the chaos that was being fashioned into order and beauty, it was good. And that becomes a motif, you might say, or a perspective. So for us, each and every day, we might encounter stumbling blocks and challenges. And Torah says, we start all over again. And here's this contemporary melody on the song sheet. Breshit bara Elohim et hashamayim v'et haaretz. Darkness before the light could shine through. We once were lost in sadness. Now we start anew. In this moment we are one with our family and our friends. We join our hearts together as we begin again. So we begin again. Vayar Elohim et ha'or ki May we find comfort in what has passed and what has brought us here today. The gifts that God has given and what has gone away. May the knowledge that on life's path there are no beginnings and no ends guide us on our journey as we begin again. So we begin again. Praise you, Adonai, for allowing us to find your courage and your strength, your peace of mind.
we've shared has brought us closer to your light. We thank you for the journey that we begin again.
That's the question, how do we begin again? And that's the answer. How do we begin again? Always with we. We're never alone. We're always part of a community. And when one person is stumbling, somebody is there to pick him or her up. That's how we begin again. On page 28, the conclusion of the Psalm for Shabbat, page 28 in the Siddur. The last three stanzas on the top of page 28 on the English side. As my enemies gather against me, my gaze remains steady, for my ears listen and hear. The righteous flourish like the date palm, thrive like a cedar in Lebanon, planted in the house of Adonai. They flourish in our God's courtyards. In old age they remain fruitful, still fresh and bountiful, proclaiming Adonai is upright, my rock in whom there is no flaw. The Siddur asserts a confident message. The righteous contribute to the universe, that we have an impact. The Siddur puts forth a confident message. In old age, people remain contributing, enduring, significant, influential, to transform the world for the better. That's what we just said. We say it every Friday night and every Saturday morning. We rise the Baruch Hu, page 39A. The Baruch Hu, page 39A. Baruch Adonai HaBaruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaBaruch Le'olam Va'ed.
We are seated at the first bracha on the English side, page 39A. Baruch atah Adonai, our God, sovereign of time and space, whose word brings the evening dusk, whose wisdom opens the gates of dawn, whose understanding changes the day's division, whose will sets the succession of seasons and arranges the stars in their places in the sky, who creates day and night, who rolls light, darkness, and darkness from light, who makes day pass into night, who distinguishes day from night. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Living and ever-present God, may your rule be with us forever and ever. Baruch atah Adonai, who brings each evening's dusk. Umariyom umevi laila, umavdil ben yom uvein laila, Adonai tzavot shmo, el chai v'kayam, tamidim lo chalen olam voed. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv aravim. And on page 40, on the English side, skip the first three lines on the English translation, beginning with therefore. Therefore, Adonai our God, as we lie down and as we rise up, we shall speak of your laws, rejoicing in the words of your Torah and your mitzvot forever and ever. For they are our life and the fullness of our days, and on them we shall meditate day and night, to Do not ever withdraw your love from us. Baruch atah Adonai, who loves the people Israel. Va'avatacha tasir mimenu olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. On page 41, the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, b'chol levacha, u'b'chol nafshecha, u'b'chol me'odecha. V'hayu ha'dvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha lebetecha u'melektecha v'derech u'b'shachpecha u'b'mecha u'b'shartam la'od al yadecha v'hayu l'totafot b'neinecha u'tavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'v'sharecha.
A few moments of silence on page number 42. We turn to page 44 on the Siddur on the English side. This is the Michamocha. And the Michamocha, as you know, is a quote from our ancestors who had just left Egypt, crossed through the Sea of Reeds. They're on the other side, and they said, wow, look what we've survived. And what's striking to me is that in order for the community to reach this awareness, first we have to be introduced to two people. It's at the very top of the page, two lines. First two lines, Moses and Miriam. And tonight, for a few reasons, I'm thinking about Moses and Miriam in one specific context, which is not this one. At a certain point in time, much later than this, when they're in the wilderness, Miriam is ill. And Moses calls out to God, God, please heal my big sister Miriam. And sometimes when I'm on this page about to sing the Michamocha, which is a thank God we're all safe, I think about what it means for an adult sibling to think about an adult sibling who's ill. That's a new way of framing the Michamocha. It's not only that the whole nation got out of slavery, but it's a voice. How do we call out for prayer when someone we love, close to us, is ill? And so Umalchuto, the top of page 44, and then continuing on the English side. Umalchuto beratzon kiblu alehem Moshe u'Miriam u'bnei Yisrael lechanu shira b'simcha rabah v'yamru chulam. Who is like you, Adonai, among the mighty? Who is like you, adorned in holiness, revered in praise, working wonders? Mi chamocha Nedar b'kodesh norati lot osei felem. Your children recognize your sovereignty as you split the sea before Moses. This is my God, they responded and said. Adonai will reign forever and ever. Malchutecha ra'u v'necha bokei hayam lifnei Moshe ze'eli anu v'yamru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. And so it is written, Adonai has rescued Jacob and redeemed him from the hand of those more powerful than he. Baruch atah Adonai, who redeemed the people Israel. You can sit down. And if you will, before the Hashkivenu, we turn to the song sheets. There's a song sheet that is labeled, It's in You and Ono Rifelna, and we'll be turning to that in just a moment. Just a moment, thank you. And again, the reason this is on my mind is what it means for a sibling to reach out to a sibling adult. And that's the starting point for this contemporary piece. It's in You, Anna Elna Rafana Labai Beth Schaefer.
It's in me. The power to emerge into the light from the dark. It's in you. It's in you. It's in me. Talk to every fiber of your being with your heart. It's in you. Oh God, give me the strength. I am tired, but I'm listening. Is it in me? The answer's in me. Oh God, give me the courage to risk battling my brokenness. Is it in me? The way is in me. It's in me. The power to emerge into the light from the dark. It's in you. Look inside yourself. Talk inside yourself. Be brave inside yourself. Have faith within yourself. strength is in yourself. The strength is in yourself. The strength is in yourself. It's in you. It's in you. Oh, it's in you.
Ordinarily, from Michamocha, we go right to the Hashkivenu. But we can't tonight. Because parts of Los Angeles are on fire. And the devastation is extreme. So we have another prayer here. It's an insert in the packet. And it's just entitled, A Prayer in Response to Los Angeles Fires. And I hope that everybody has one, or we can share. Does everyone have one we can share? This is very important. This came to my phone this afternoon from my niece who lives in LA, my sister, brother-in-law, niece and nephews, and now Becca and David are parents, so I'm a great uncle, right? So our baby's there, our niece is there, and a lot of friends. And this comes from a rabbi at a synagogue, and the name of the synagogue is the Link. It's a kollel, which is an adult, it's almost like a yeshiva. And he's sharing this with his community in the West LA area, and it's making the rounds. And in order to get to the Hashkivenu, which is our prayer for hoped calm and ease, that we all lay down our heads on the pillows in security, we have to pray for our people in California first. Responsibly, please. Our God in heaven, in your hand is the soul of every living being. You cause the wind to blow and the rain to fall. Hear our prayer, bring blessing and peace. Let the clouds return to the earth, and may the fury of the fire subside. The bottom together. Grant dew and rain for blessing. Nourish the earth with kindness and fill our hands with your abundance. Guard us from all harm and bring us hope, goodness, and lasting peace. Ken yehi ratzon, and so may it be your will. And now on page 45, the Hashkivenu. Together on the English side. Hashkivenu Adonai, our God, to sleep peacefully. Awaken us to life, O Sovereign. Spread over us your canopy of peace. Restore us with your good counsel, and save us for the sake of your name. Shield us. Remove from us enemies, pestilence, sword, starvation, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us, and fire as well. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings. For you, God, watch over and deliver us. And you, God, are sovereign, merciful, and compassionate. Ensure our going and coming for life and peace, now and forever. May you spread over us your canopy of peace. Baruch atah Adonai, who spreads the canopy of peace over us, over all the people of Israel, and over the Jews. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. The top of page 46, Vishamru.
Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, ledor tambarit olam. B'nai Israel, Oti le'olam, Oti le'olam, Oti le'olam. V'shamru B'nai Israel et HaShabbat, Lasot et HaShabbat le'dorton barit olam. Ki shesh yamim asa Adonai, asa Adonai, Eshayim et haaretz v'shamru b'nei Israel et HaShabbat, Lasot et HaShabbat le'dorton barit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. V'shamru b'nei Israel et HaShabbat, Lasot et HaShabbat le'dorton barit olam. Yitgadol v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah Be'alma Divra Kirute V'amli Mahute V'hayehom V'yomehom Uv'hayedekol Beit Yisrael Ba'agala Ba'agala Uv'yizman Kariv V'yimeru Shmei Rabba Mevara La'olam Ome Almaya Yitbara Yitbara V'yishaba V'yitpar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yaleh V'yithalal Shemei Dekudusha B'rihu Le'ela Mikol Birhata V'shirata Tushbehata v'ne'emata da'amiram ba'alma v'imeru. Amen.
Before we rise for the silent prayer on page 47, just a reminder, the Amida, the traditional silent prayer, page 47 to 52, is your most direct phone call to God. We say the Amida 3 times a day in the tradition for the past 2,000 years. Amida is called Amida because it means we stand up. So we stand up and we can say a traditional prayer, and it's considered your direct conversation, your private prayer to God. And what's striking is when you look at page 47 to 52, every single verb in this prayer is in the plural. We, us, our, O-U-R. So how do you and I address, I can't resist, the elephant? Roll Tide, 2 kids went there, I can say that. The elephant in the room, what does it mean to say that, I have 2 kids who went there, you can't deny that. How do we address the apparent contradiction that this is the private prayer par excellence for 2,000 years, long before there was a football team? 2,000 years, it's the private prayer, but it's all voiced in the we and the us and the our. And maybe the answer is that we're next to each other. And we've just been singing and thinking and talking and raising questions, always together. And so when people rise in silent prayer, they're not alone. They're next to each other. And you and I are, in a way, supporting one another as you're trying to find your own understanding of what it means to be part of a community, and so am I. And that's the traditional text, pages 47 to 52. And on the other side, if you choose, it's a time for private, silent reflection. Only those comfortably able to stand are invited to stand at this time. A few moments of silent prayer. Sit, 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 sit. Take care of the baby. Hello, little one. Amen. Sounds good. About a week and a half ago, a friend with whom I haven't spoken for quite some time called. We were talking, and I thought, oh, this is a catch-up call. We get to catch up. We spoke for a little bit, and he said, I have some news. And some health concerns had grown. And he was looking at some very drastic changes in his health. And as we spoke and I listened, I realized that this phone call was not a catch-up call. This phone call was a way of saying goodbye. And we talked and we listened and we prayed. And I was thinking, what can I say to this person who I've known for quite some time? And for some reason, a thought from the Amida popped into my head. And I've shared this phrase with you on a number of occasions. It's at the very beginning, which means, God, you remember the pious deeds, the deeds of kindness of our ancestors. And so I said, your deeds matter. All that you have done in your life matters. All the actions that you have performed, all the work that you've done in your career matters. All the actions that you've taken in your personal life with your loved ones and your family are of dramatic consequence to God. Everything you've done over the span of all these years has had an impact and a difference to the creator of the universe and therefore to the universe itself. And we talked and we listened and we'll talk again. And it occurred to me that many of us may be in a situation where we get a phone call. And it's not a phone call where we are just catching up, but we're saying goodbye. And it's dreadfully difficult. If only we had that chance to touch, to hold, to embrace, sometimes to look at the phone. And not everybody is inclined to use the video feature, especially when they're facing a grave issue. So what do we say to each other? And that's why I had the thought this evening to share this with us. There's another thought in my mind, and it's because of tomorrow's Torah reading, which is called Vayachi. And we all know the word Chai, which means life. And the Torah reading tomorrow, which is Vayachi, and he lived, speaks of Jacob. And Jacob has come down from Canaan to Egypt, and Joseph is the viceroy, and we're all familiar with the account and the tradition, and years have gone by, and Jacob is now 137. And he's anticipating that in a while he's going to die. And he gathers his sons who are adults, some of them grandparents. Reuven, the oldest, might even be a great-grandparent in his own right, by his bedside. And he's going to have that final farewell conversation. It's not on the phone, it's in person. And some of us have had the experience of being at the bedside of a loved one. We know how dramatic it is and how much of an impact it can have. And I pretend, as I look at tomorrow's Torah reading, that I'm in the room with Jacob and all the sons whose names I know. And he's speaking to all the sons, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Issachar, Zvulun, Gad, Asher, Dan, Naphtali, Yosef, Binyamin. We all know those names. And he points out to some of them the qualities that are those qualities which build character, which transform behavior, which enhance our lives, which augment our world. And he points out to some failures and character qualities that, frankly, he's disappointed in. And it goes back to my thoughts of what kinds of words would we share with people when we are not going to have the chance in the future to speak with them? Which types of words are we going to share with people when we are not going to have the opportunity in the future to speak with them? We each have a choice. We could be like Jacob, who is speaking to his adult children who are adults in their own rights, and he could speak to the positive or to the negative. Or we can look in our daily interactions and seek the positive. And it may be challenging to identify the positive, but it shouldn't be. It may take a little extra work. It needs to be done. But the final thought that I wish to share this evening is that why do we wait until someone is frail? Why do we wait until we are at that bed scene or on the telephone for that, unfortunately, final telephone call? Why don't we stir ourselves up a little bit and look around and speak to the people whom we love earlier, including our kids? We need to talk to our kids and say, we're proud of you. And we don't have to go into great detail. The point is not to heap false praise upon people. But can we identify conduct and behavior within our children and our adults, our friends and our family members, behavior that is consequential to God? Can we do that? We can. We can identify behavior in our own experiences that people we know and love and care for, adult and child alike, is of consequence to God and therefore matters to the universe itself. That's what we need to learn this week from the Parsha and from a phone call which is still ringing in my ears. And that's what I share with our shul, my friends, this evening. Let's not wait until it's too late. Let's look around and interact with the people we love and care about and say, the behavior that you exhibited today, each in your own way, whichever age and stage you might be, matters in the right way to God. And let people know that they matter. Their conduct matters. Their lives matter. And we all say, Amen. We rise now for the Aleinu on page number 56, page 56. In a moment, Kaddish Tome on page 58, for which we all remain standing. Keep talking, Lily. We love it. Keep talking. And on this Shabbat, just a reminder, there are some guests who may not be familiar with this tradition, but this goes back many, many hundreds of years. And this congregation, like many congregations, maintains a calendar. We have a calendar of the Yortzites going back to the founding of the shul, which is 130 years. And some of the names which you mentioned no longer have descendants even here in Mobile. But we mention their names. Every single week we have a calendar of names to be remembered for that week, as do many congregations around the world, because we always remember our loved ones. And on this Shabbat, we remember Charles W. Grodsky, Gus Grodsky, Meyer Rips, Fanny Linick, Janice Olinsky, Rosalie Weed, Edith Levy, Gussie Gay Cam. That's your great aunt. Oh, Rosie Weed, exactly right, yes. Leo Levinson, Rudolph Jacoby, Maura Simon, Jonathan Wesley Sutton, Randy Sherman, that's your mom, Carl David Schwartz, Charles Miller, Henry Bloom, Judith Ann Letterman, Yetta Levinson, Bert Silverstein. Remember Marjorie Slavin. We're also remembering those people who are a part of our community, although we may not know them, and remembering Jewish people from all over the world, and remembering our Israelis who were stolen from us, which is why we have an empty chair this evening, as we have for the past 455 days. Kaddish on page 58. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, Amen. Be'alma divarach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chaye chon u'v'yom echon u'v'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'v'zaman kariv v'imeru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivarach la'alam ol'almei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudasha b'richu la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'ami ran ba'alma v'meru. Amen. Yehi Shalama Rabba Min Shemaya V'Chayim Aleinu V'Al Israel V'imeru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Imru Amen. May we all have shalom when we all say Amen. We are seated. Stan, do you want to step up? You want to step up? Stan? We're modifying the service a little bit. As you know, our friend Marjorie Slavin recently died, and Stan has some words that he wishes to share. This is a couple weeks after her death, and the words were written by Brooke and Dory.
Well, this is from one of my favorite daughters, and you may remember her as Brooke Elizabeth Chasson, now Brooke Aiken. And she goes, I spoke with Rabbi Steve today. He really is incredible. Here are some words about Aunt Marjorie. Feel free to cut it. It's kind of longish, but it's not. It's actually what she really feels and what she thinks. Some of the fondest memories of my childhood were the summers I spent visiting Aunt Marjorie. It wasn't just what she always made us feel, welcome, but she made those summers feel special, as though they were filled with little adventures every day. Whether it was shopping together, swimming in the pool, or sharing a meal of the most delicious food, those moments spent with her were always full of laughter, stories, and a deep sense of connection. Every time I think back to those summers, I can't help but smile, knowing how much love and care Aunt Marjorie poured into every detail. Aunt Marjorie was a woman who lived life with a quiet but powerful intelligence. She had a curiosity about the world that was contagious. She loved learning, and her passion for gaining knowledge never waned. I remember how she could always spark an interesting conversation, no matter the subject, and she made you want to know more, to think deeper, to look at things in a new light. Her mind was sharp, and her heart was even sharper. She taught me not just the words, but by the way she lived with her life, with a generosity of spirit, and an open mind, and a loving heart. Even though she is no longer with us in person, her lessons, her love, and her spirit will continue to guide us, and we will carry her memory in our hearts forever. As we say goodbye to Aunt Marjorie today, let us also celebrate all that she gave us: her wisdom, her laughter, her kindness, and the many, many beautiful moments we shared with her. She will deeply be missed, and she will never be forgotten. Rest in peace, Aunt Marjorie. We love you. And now this is from my other daughter, my other favorite daughter. You may remember her as Dory Rochelle Chasson, and now her name is Dory Chang, after her husband, of course. As a child, my favorite part of summer was visiting my aunt. They weren't normal vacations, and back then I called her Aunt Margie. We didn't go camping, hiking, or physically exert ourselves, no. We filled our endless time with shopping sprees, ladies at lunch, art museums, and more. These vacations were sophisticated and classy, just like my aunt. They were a glimpse into another world. Surrounded by city life, mountains, and palm trees, I never wanted them to end. But I didn't love my aunt because of the superficial experiences or fancy houses. I love my aunt because underneath that perfect facade, she was beautifully imperfect and taught me it was okay to be just that. I love her because she cultivated my love of art, traveling, and intellectual exploration. I miss her. Our current conversations mostly were via email. I sent her one after learning of her latest trip to the hospital. The finality of her passing hit me when I realized I never received a response. But I have voicemails, photos, and memories who bring me peace. I'm thankful that she is no longer in pain. Rest easy, Aunt Marjorie. I love you. That was from Dory. Now, when I came here, before we left the house, Leslie asked me, was I going to say anything? And I said, if I'm compelled to, I will. And here I am, I'm compelled to. And she said, what are you going to say? And I said, whatever comes to mind. And then she said, well, that's kind of scary. But let me say, when I first realized that, when we first found out that Marjorie was going to come to Mobile, after living all these places, Tucson, Kalamazoo, Michigan, Santa Fe, she lived all over the world, in fact. She loved what she did, and she was brilliant in what she did. When I heard that she was coming, I thought to myself in a Southern expression, this is just not going to work. Because I knew she was worldly, and I knew she had places that she loved and when she came, and she's coming to Mobile, Alabama with a small Jewish population. How is this lady, so intelligent, so beautiful, going to be coming and living in Mobile? It just ain't going to work. Well, guess what? After her arrival and listening to see what she did, I was surprised because how quickly she was accepted into this congregation, how quickly she made so many friends, and how quickly people began to realize what kind of person she was. Her intellect, her ability to converse, her ability to join the book club, writing a conversation in the bulletin every time the bulletin came out. That had never been done before. How she affected so many people's lives. I was surprised at watching her and seeing her and learning from her. And I will miss her, as many of us and most all of us will. One thing, believe it or not, she had a great curiosity about art. We have a picture in our kitchen that she made, and we see it every day. And some of you, believe it or not, she got into the jewelry business. Some of you, I know for one fact or two, are wearing her jewelry today. And they love it, and they remember her because she was the one that made it. We want to thank you for coming here today. We want to thank you for being part of us. And I'm sure Marjorie would say the same thing. And we will all miss her. And if you didn't know her, just listen to what people have to say about her. And you will understand the kind of person she was. We miss you, Marjorie. Thank you for being here. And now Leslie has a few words to say.
I want to say one thing.
Okay.
So, I want to segue for a reason. So, it's Friday night, we're going to make Kiddush, and Leslie's going to share a few thoughts. People don't realize what Kiddush is. Kiddush is making a toast to God. Have you ever thought about that? Kiddush is actually making a toast to God. The Hagafen is the blessing we say when we drink wine. But the paragraph, we're toasting God. And that's what we do every Friday night at home, in synagogue, or temple, wherever it might be. Something in Brooks' piece about the excitement, and I don't remember what it was near the end, and it made me think of making a toast. So tonight you're invited wine and juice, and Leslie's going to share something. So, but as we make a toast to God and to giving to share time, we'll also toast to Marjorie's memory. That's what I'd like to do. We'll mostly then Leslie has some words, and then people are invited to visit with Leslie and Stan and everyone in the time for refreshments and in visiting, and perhaps you share a story or a thought with Leslie and Stan in the reception. But for now, let's rush for Kiddush and
One last thing, Rabbi, I forgot to say, in my many conversations I had with her, it was always quite challenging. And one thing I learned never to talk with her about was politics. Because here we had a young lady come down, a liberal northerner come down to the city of Mobile, Alabama, and we would discuss those things, and after a while I remember not being able to say anything to her about politics. But I know that she will remember, and I know that she is smiling right now if she found out who I voted for last time.